All right, good evening, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Hazmat Guys Nation Roundtable. This is a multimedia platform to bring hazmat response information and training tips from hazmat members from around the globe. I'm Bobby Salveson, and I'll be acting as the host for the show tonight. I am joined by Phil right now, and I know that the other two cast of characters, our other circus clowns, are going to be here very soon, I'm sure, right?
Yeah, and if they're not, we'll get some exciting Kosh green screen.
Oh, that's good. Like the part of the vision. I love that.
Yeah, because we were on Skype and all those things a bunch today. So if he then has trouble, it'll be good TV.
Yeah, to listen to him first. I'll have to be editing all that stuff out.
Yeah, like it's travel. I mean, I show up. I got the stop in Vegas, and I have this premonition, and with the numbers I told you about. And then boom, it's like, oh, hey, thanks. So, sorry, Bob. I had different luck. Doesn't happen all the time.
Yeah, so for those of you who don't know, we just came back from Indianapolis. We did the last show in Indy, thanks to Jason Rogers, who's in the audience tonight, and he was instrumental, right?
Absolutely. That and Jason Kerr and Firehouse Subs, but really Jason Rogers, hooked everything up, and it was a lot of fun. I mean, FDIC in general is just an incredible show, something else. And it took us away from kind of the main hub. We went out, we got to meet Jason's team, lots of good people from Delaware County. And it was a really, really, really good time. The whole FDIC was, but then that night was good. I don't know if the recording's up yet, but
no,
that and the after party. I
got to edit the whole thing tonight. I'm hoping to edit tonight. I'm hoping to edit all that audio and visual tonight so I can get it all together and put it out maybe tomorrow.
And we were going to do a little recap of that tonight. We had the recap, a little bit of FDIC, but not to bore everybody, because if you weren't there, we had a few for you. And then after we finished that, we had 3 good current events, and Kosh wanted to kind of specifically go after one and talk about what we do with it. And he's he's got some surprisingly. I know this is a shocker. Kosh's technical problem. Yeah. All right.
I can dance. I can dance for a little while.
Yeah, me too.
Kosh he's probably sleeping. He might be sleeping.
Yeah, he's be easy. So I could give a quick recap. I mean, I'm tough at quick stuff. I ramble on.
Yeah.
But the FDIC was an outstanding time. There was the Hazmat Guys podcast were there.
Yes.
You and Mike. I won't speak for your portion. It was awesome. You guys.
Yeah.
But then the actual night of the show, I don't know if anybody saw it live, because it was technically it wasn't easy to set up. I know Bobby brought all the equipment, but it was a lot of fun. So we got to meet, and anybody down here on the side that hasn't known some names, it was the real Ray Bramble, Jason Rogers, and several others that, it was. Yeah.
We got picked up in that creeper van, right?
Yeah. I think there's going to be some video coming up, but they actually picked us up in a real creepy looking van with, and took us, to the shows. It was a lot of fun. I don't really remember all the questions. Jason Rogers did an outstanding job of kind of hosting, and of course he did send some questions out ahead of time, but I didn't ever read them, and I wish I had. But it was fun.
Yeah,
it was good stuff. And I think we'll mention it now before the other guys come in, but Baltimore's right around the corner. So FDIC is the Super Bowl of firefighting events and training. And now we have Baltimore not too far away. We met a whole lot of people out at FDIC that were planning on coming out to Baltimore, the IFC Hazmat. And I know you, right, and Mike are both teaching classes.
Yeah, we're actually both have a class to do out there. Mike is doing something on like oxidizers. He's terrible at oxidizers, so I don't know how he's going to pull this off. I'm joking. He's so close right now. I can hear him right down the stairs. Yeah, and I am doing a class on using digital media to reach your. I'm going to pretty much tell everybody how to use voiceover PowerPoints and use PowerPoints, podcasts, that kind of stuff to create classes so that you can reach your membership distally 24 hours a day.
Rattle everybody
For free. For free. That's the best part. No cost for the software or anything.
Outstanding.
Yeah.
And I'm looking forward to that because what you just said, I mean, we had a great, and I don't know if I mentioned it in a previous show, but Greg Knoll had sent a note because he saw one of the shows, the episode of Standards, and complimented. And I see it as kind of this new media. And man, Greg Knoll's somebody like so many of the biggies that have written the books and teach outstanding classes. And if you ever get a chance to talk to him, especially about hazmat, just treats everybody great. Just a really good guy. And I know he'll be out at Baltimore teaching a class. So if you're signing up for stuff, that's one to add to the name. Of course, Salveson and Monaco, of course, register for those. And when those are too full, the standing room only, make sure you.
Yeah, I have a feeling that's not going to be the case.
Right, and then we're planning on the HazSim side of things. We're going to have a booth there, but we haven't figured out the details. But I think we all agreed we're doing some sort of mixer, some sort of event, right in the heels of that. What Jason Rogers was able to put on really at short notice in Indy. I think we can, with a bunch of fire people, not necessarily hazmat. I think we can really knock it out of the park in Baltimore.
I think it's gonna be awesome. Oh,
whoa!
Wow.
Huh.
Hello.
Glad you guys made it.
Well, we had to log out of the other one. Can you hear me?
I can hear you fine.
Okay. I had to log out of the other one that kept flashing.
That was what did they say? The career dissipation light.
Yeah.
That was in Backdraft, right?
Blink, blink.
Something like that.
Jumping right into the frying pan, we were kind of doing the introductions, and we were killing some time talking a little bit about Indianapolis. And for those that haven't ever met the Kosh, why don't you introduce yourself and tell us about your Indy experience?
Yeah. I don't think we have enough time in the show for the whole Indy experience. Let's just say planes, trains, and automobiles on the way home.
You were sitting with
a 6-hour flight total that took me, 26 hours when it was all said and done, I think.
Mike, you have no audio. No. So,
but
awesome.
But yeah, so I'm Bob Cosciano. I'm a hazmat lieutenant, Orlando Fire Department. I'm also a trainer for HazSim. And I want to thank real quickly Jason Rogers and the gang for everything they did for us at Indy. At Firehouse. Got your shirt on, fellas. Thank you very much. Has Truck 5 in their medic unit. You guys took care of us. We really appreciate it. It was a great time. Indy was a good time. We met a lot of people, a lot of great new friends, and
cool.
Yeah, it was good stuff.
Good deal. So, I mean, Mike's getting his voice back
He looks
up.
really still, so I think he's probably going to log in and out. And
No, he's a statue. He's like a mime.
He hasn't blinked. Staring contest, and he won.
He's amazing.
Something else.
So, good.
Go ahead, Bobby.
Bob, what do you got tonight? You got some what? Chloride?
Yeah, just a few things. How far did we get into the recap of FDIC?
I think we hit it. Yeah. I mean, I think the post-production of the actual show and with what we had, we'll have that. So we kind of rolling into your part now. But if you let's get into these runs. I'm interested to see what you had on your plate.
So there was just a few little things, nothing major. Some people that got hurt, some people that got more than hurt. So in Madison, there was an incident where 3 guys were treated from the hospital, or at the hospital. When they went to what was reported of a fire, that the area was approximately a 20 by 40 area that got contaminated. And when the guys started taking off some of their gear, they noticed some burning sensation. And basically they were exposed to sulfuric acid and sodium hydroxide. So it kind of reminded me, I wasn't on the run years ago, but there's a plant, we'll say, here in Orlando that makes potato chips and whatnot. And
cannabis, right?
Yeah. They're trying to pass it. they're trying to pass it. That's all we need. Anyway, so it kind of reminded me of an incident that we had here in Orlando. It wasn't my shift, but the guys went to a fire at this manufacturing plant, and they felt their, in their leather boots, they felt their feet burning. And there was this liquid on the ground that they thought was water from their hoses. And it turns out there was sodium hydroxide all over the place. Yeah. So when they walked out, their tools were turning colors. Their feet were burning. We had, I think, 30 or so guys on scene. This is probably 15, 20 years ago. They had a lot of guys' gear got destroyed. A lot of guys had to get treated on the scene. Decon, obviously. We carry stuff for neutralizing the acid. But what do you do if you're with a base? I'm pretty sure people don't carry acids on their trucks. And really, well, with the exception of, but the guys thought quick on their feet, and actually they went to a grocery store around the corner and they got some mild acid, and kind of neutralized what they could. So it's just kind of a neat little incident to think about, because we mentioned in was it episode 4 of our Hazmat Guys Nation Roundtable about dangerous goods and rolling up on that thing that you think's a fire, and really it ends up being something totally different.
I want to talk about one thing that Bob just said that was a small point, but it was a huge point, that they got a mild acid and not a strong acid. So when you have a strong base, something, and remember that we have, I've spoke about this a couple of times, but if we put a pH paper in it and it comes out as a 1, that doesn't mean it's a strong one. It could be a very weak one. You can have a 2, let's say like Coca-Cola, that you can drink, and then there's 5s that will burn your hand right off. So we got to talk about the concentration and the pH. But what he said was very specific. He said that there was a weak acid, and that's key, because you can't combat a very strong base with a very strong acid. You're going to get an explosive or a bubble over or whatever it might be. So whenever we have strong anything, we go with the weak of the opposite, and we just constantly put it in. And there's a whole thing on how to titrate it, and you can figure it out prior to. It's a little more than this show can go into, but if you want to check it out, you could probably, Wikipedia or something like that. But it's not very difficult. It's what's done in a lab setting. It's basically taking out a small sample out of your slurry, your buffer system, and then you're going to take out a small sample of the other one. You add them together, and when you figure out the proportion, it's very easy to do it quickly and not overshoot your mark.
Yeah, and that brings up a good point. My guys were asking me yesterday. Well, first they had to reintroduce themselves to me because I'd been gone for a little while, but they were talking about the Flagler Beach call where they had was it sulfuric acid?
I think so.
Yeah, like a tote fell off the back of a truck, 250-gallon tote of sulfuric acid. If I remember right, 50% fell off the back of a truck along A1A. Some of it got into the dunes. Okay, yeah, that's bad for the environment, but it didn't run off anywhere. But there was some still on the ground. And they said, well, we would just throw a whole bunch of soda ash on it, right, Lou? And I said, well, there's a process. Like Bobby's saying, you try it in a little area first to see what mixture rate, if you will, for lack of a better term. And then you kind of just do it in a bunch of those little patches so you're not going from a strong acid to a strong base.
Yeah, that was I remember the original news article said a chemical company from Central Florida lost its load in Flagler Beach. I believe that was 300 gallons of sulfuric acid.
Yeah, and knowing what I know about their hazmat team up there, I think it's a county team. So they do a little bit of a regional response, St. Johns County, I believe. Pretty solid guys. Train a lot with Jacksonville Fire Department. So they're pretty good.
Yeah. And I remember we doing it's good stuff if you have access to your local community or university college campus. And if you could spend some time in the chem lab and just do a little bit of titrating with acids and bases, it's nice to see it. It's nice to be able to do it, of course. Or if you have a good open area and you want to just go for it and check out the reaction, that's always fun too. Yeah. It looks like we lost Bobby temporarily, but let's call number 2.
So we got call number 2 is, let's back up real quick to call number 1. So when you guys are going to this, like we mentioned in the dangerous episodes or dangerous goods, it's important to know your first due area. These guys probably knew their first due area based on what I read in this manufacturing area. 2 chemicals were mixed, and that's how they ended up with this sodium hydroxide and sulfuric acid mixing and the chemical reaction that they had. But it goes back to knowing your first due area, training on that type of chemicals that are in your first due area, and really having a good rapport with everybody there. So just a little recap from what we talked about in episode 4.
Yeah, probably the last thing that popped into my head when Bobby was talking, and they cover it really well in the podcast, is with these acids is the concentration, the percent. Nitric acid, you can have 30% up to 70%, and you've got the difference between a pretty strong inorganic acid up to borderline explosive. So do your research on the chemicals, and that's a really good. That podcast on corrosives is pretty good. Listen to it next time you're on the treadmill. Yeah,
absolutely. So one of the things, the second incident that we came across was kind of weird. It's in the New Mexico area. The guys were over Los Alamos Highway this past Friday. Some guys were traveling in a Jeep, had some flammable gases and some tanks. I'm assuming it sounded like almost like propane tanks. And the guy heard a little hissing in the back seat, and he reached back to turn it off while he had a lit cigarette in his mouth. Yeah, that's not going to work real good for him. And matter of fact, it didn't. It blew him and the Jeep to smithereens. Didn't kill him or his partner. They were transported to the hospital with severe burns and probably a little loss of hearing, I would imagine, as well. So, flammables, ignition sources, and flammable liquids, flammable gases don't go over very well together.
Yeah, I want to say that I thought it was a propane tank. Caught my attention because we go out that direction. In fact, I've been on that highway multiple times through, I think it was Espanola, which is close to Los Alamos, which anybody here that is a rad nerd, think Manhattan Project, think, we talked about the Nevada test site class, but a lot of the technology that went into Fat Man and Little Boy, it all happened there at Los Alamos up in the mountains. And if you've never taken a trip up there, it's kind of fun. When I worked for the University of California, they actually used to have the contract back in the 90s to manage that place before there was some espionage and fires and all the rest of it, which was in northern New Mexico, in the mountains. They have a great museum, but that's pretty much where that's where it all happened. That's where the science started. And yeah, in that case, the Jeep, if you see the pictures, that thing's just blown up. So it was exactly what isn't necessarily supposed to happen. And how many of us before a weekend barbecue put those things in the trunk of our car because we might not have a pickup truck. That one was pretty bizarre. So you roll up on that and you have, if it came in as a fire, you treat it as a fire. But in that case, maybe if there's multiple cylinders, you're not it's not a big Rhino truck. So You might not be expecting it. So it's like my crew knows, I say every time, look in the windows, expect the unexpected every call.
Right. And if you want, there's actually a video news feed of it. If you want to check it out, you can go to hazmatnation.com and look at the news photo.
Yeah, we didn't say that in the beginning. It's where we try to put, there's lots of Hazmat news out there and catch it wherever you can. The Hazmat Guys podcast site, but we try to really use the Hazmat Nation to some of the, some of the more interesting calls, and at least all in one place. So if you're doing a training, you can do some searching and you should find a lot of stuff all in one place. That one was amazing. Nobody got hurt.
Right. And there's something too, what we need to do is we also need to remember when we're going to these fires, we talked about, what episode was it? 5, I think maybe 5 or 6 of the compressed natural gas. These things that are in cars, were on vehicles. I mentioned the incident, I think it was Seattle, where they had the tank, it was looked like a car fire, and then the tank just rocketed out of the back of the tank, out of the back of the car rather. So, when we approach any of these scenes now, we need to really take firemen, and it's our nature to run up and go, all the way as fast as we can. But sometimes we need to just take a couple seconds, and especially if you're an officer, for the safety of your crew and everybody else around you, slow down a little bit and check things out a little bit before you just go running up there. I watched a video of Annie. Bobby's back. All right. And I watched a video the other day of a guy fighting a car fire. No, I'm not going to name the department, but no SCBA on, no hood. And as soon as he hit it with water, what do you think flashed back out? Magnesium. So we just need to wear the right stuff, take a few extra seconds, and especially with, like something like this, guy had propane tanks in the back of the Jeep. Yeah, maybe he was going to film for a barbecue, who knows? But, we just need to slow up a little bit is the bottom line.
We missed you.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, we're nothing without you. Rudderless ship. That was number 2. We're getting into the second one. Hopefully,
I just told me to log out and log back in. That's what I had to do.
Well, something went down, and I am actually running off my phone right now. So if it's a little spotty, it's my fault. It's
it's actually pretty good.
Looking really good.
Should I do my little robot thing so you can see how choppy it is?
Yeah, there you go.
That's awesome. What was that whole thing, Bob, you had about vinyl chloride? I'm kind of interested.
That is the last and final news piece. Real quickly. So this is in Mexico, just south of Mexico City. I think here he comes. He's coming back on there. So far the death toll is 28. Wow. They're still looking for people. It would look like it was a petroleum plant, but did a lot of other. I don't want to say it did a lot of other stuff, but because they're still trying to figure out what else they all did. But vinyl chloride is produced at this plant, so they think that maybe because of how flammable it is and such a wide flammable range that it has, that this might have caused the explosion. And this just happened Friday night, it looks like. That toll's risen to 28, still 18 people. 18 people were hospitalized. 130 suffered various injuries. And it's about 370 miles southeast of Mexico City. So, just a little bit down there. And there's still a large area has not been searched, and people are still unaccounted for. So, so it was vinyl chloride. And in the article, wow, this is weird. Looks like we can put almost 6 people on this thing.
Yeah, where's
Yeah, I see Mike below or whoever's.
I need a bigger computer.
Am I on?
You're on.
Yeah, you are on.
Yay! Through my phone.
All right, guys, that wraps up another episode.
I'm Michael Monaco. You can reach me at.
What would it be without some kind of technical difficulty, right? That's the comedy of the show right there, fellas.
Wait, we were talking about this whole. Me and Mike were talking about vinyl before, and vinyl's a weird thing.
Yeah.
Like anything that's vinyl, people think of vinyl, they think of like vinyl siding or PVC but like vinyl itself is a term that's in organic chemistry, right? Yeah. I mean, it's a very unique structure, and that's why I guess technically it's a monomer,
right? And it lends itself well to kind of like polymerization type reactions that duplicate itself.
Right.
And that's what plastic is.
Right. So you got your PVCs, which is the polyvinyl, or you can have the single, which is the vinyl chloride. And I don't want to get too down into the chemistry rabbit hole, but like this stuff is pretty badass. I mean, vinyl, anything is vinyl. I'm like, holy cow, something's going down. But if I hear like vinyl chloride, that's basically a precursor to something that's going to polymerize. And anything is polymerization that you see in the ERG with the P, or you see on the NIOSH with the P, or it says that, rapid expansion. Polymerization is just basically a slow explosion.
Right.
It's the same crap that you put around the door frames and your windows to keep the, Gorilla Glue and that kind of stuff. So,
foam in a can.
Yeah, they foam in a can. So those things are really small, but this stuff can blow up. What was that thing in Texas? It was a rail car that was left out. They
Was that styrene or was
What was it,
that
like 7?
was that styrene or was that
But it was something that polymerized.
Yeah, it was styrene.
Styrene.
Yeah.
Yeah, another triple bond.
That was like an amazing thing. They forgot about this thing out in the yard, and they the best course of action was to back up and let it do its thing. Polymerization is just like that. Anything you hear with vinyls, as far as I can think of, is going to be super flammable, wide flammable ranges, and is going to be pretty badass. I mean, like, I was looking this thing up. It's toxic at like 1 parts per million, and it's carcinogenic off the charts.
Right.
And then it's Bob and I were talking about it earlier. I remember back in the waste slinging days and at the universities, it was vinyl chloride, which correct me if I'm wrong, but dichloromethane, got a couple of chlorines in it. And we used to bulk that stuff. It's obviously with the chlorine, it's a little heavier than others, but they use it, in different concentrations in research labs and biochem and things like that. But you get a rail car of it. And there was actually an incident that was pre-Hazmat Nation, but talked to guys that were there when Hurricane Sandy hit, which y'all on the East Coast remember.
Did you just throw a y'all in there?
Yeah. It's so good.
Did he?
There was a train derailment outside of Paulsboro Township. Anybody recall that? It's right across the river from Philadelphia. And they actually had one or more rail cars full of vinyl chloride that went to the bottom of the river. It was a very, very difficult cleanup because you have a flowing river that I think the average depth was 10 to 15 feet. Never really got any news coverage because it was right at the time Hurricane Sandy was going down. And there was some vinyl chloride. I know they had to evacuate entire neighborhoods, but it didn't get a ton of press. I'm sure probably somebody's teaching a class on it in Baltimore, but it was outside of Paulsboro Township, which would be in New Jersey, right across the river from Philadelphia. And that's I like that, Jason. But bad stuff and big quantities. They've got there's areas I think maybe Jeremy Morris could speak to. There's areas in Texas and Michigan that have full pipelines of the stuff pumping through because they also use it for plastics manufacturing and oil and gas.
Yeah, I mean, anytime you see this stuff, it's not an end game piece. It's a component,
right,
beginning
of the manufacturing.
And one of the things, if you have the Wiser app, some people, there's all kinds of app books and whatever. But if you're just looking something at your house right now and you have Wiser on your phone, plug that in there and look it up. And when you hit reactions where it's there's a plus sign for, I think, add chemical or add water, it'll give you the list of things that'll happen. And it's interesting to find out, if it mixes with cyanide, what it'll do. If it mixes in water, what it'll do. The ERG number is 116 for those of you that may be curious, or you want to do a little drill back at the station and throw it to your rookie and say, hey, we have this. What are you going to do? Explosive mixtures with air, spontaneous, will ignite spontaneously in air. Polymerization, like we said, it's heavier than air gas, or vapors rather, and same with water. So it's it's going to sit around a little bit, and then we're going to have some issues with it.
Is it heat sensitive?
One of the things that is
what's that?
Is it heat sensitive? As far as yeah, can you not hear me?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, I got you.
Yeah, he said heat sensitive. I don't know.
I'm not. That's a good question.
Boiling point.
It's a good question for the audience to look up. I know if they know.
You guys didn't know we were going to ask you questions in the audience, did you?
No, that's a good question. I don't know. I can't get over I can't get over the PL. The PL is the TWA is 1 part per million.
Yeah.
That's unbelievable. I mean, I'm looking it up right now to see if the PID could pick this up.
Yes, it's 9.9.
Oh, so it's readable.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I mentioned it on the other one. If you've got a college chemistry lab, community college, university, whoever it is, you're doing a walkthrough. We talked about, you guys had dropped out. We talked about, getting to see some acid-base titration reactions, get to see it. But with things like vinyl chloride or dichloromethane, just like carbon tetrachloride. And remember in the old fire extinguisher bombs, lots of chlorine, really heavy. So if they say, hey, where do you keep your chemicals? And they're going to say, oh, no, it's all safe. It's all safe. It's in that room. Yeah, go in there, pick up some bottles, because you pick up acetone a couple times. Then you pick up vinyl chloride. It's muscle memory. That stuff's heavy. Carbon tet, you go, whoa, this is heavier. And it's just, a few things, because we burn stuff. We watch the reactions. We do stuff. And it's not part of HazCat necessarily to weigh it. But, man, you get the opportunity and to touch some of those brown bottles. And then, of course, the brown bottle that, poly-coated and all that stuff. It's pretty good muscle memory. So go visit local college campus.
Right. I mean, that's one of those things. And even the transport, it's going to be done in what? It'd probably be in a 407, right?
Yeah.
I'm guessing it's
Or
going to be a
chemical.
407 or a 312. Right. And I'm shooting this
Chemical
right from the
tank.
hip. I don't even know it's supposed to be in. I have no idea. I know I'm relatively sure it's not going to be in a 406. It's not going to be some type of hydrocarbon transport.
Yeah. It's
It's
heavy
not
stuff.
pressurized, so it's not going to be 331.
Anybody have the fog guide with them? Because mine's at the station.
Yeah, I have no idea. I don't have any reference books around me, so I'm trying to shoot from the hip on this one because I'm trying to guess what it would be if I was riding to the scene. What would I put in my mind's eye? And I would say it's probably gonna be a 407.
What's the vapor pressure on it?
It's really high. It's like 2,500 millimeters of mercury. Hold on, let me find it. I had it up here. Vapor pressure is 2,580 millimeters of mercury at 68 degrees. That's high.
2580, so way over an atmosphere. This is well into the gas phase.
Yeah, it wants to be a gas, but they liquefy it. But you know what? I haven't really read how they liquefy it, because basically you could take a gas and make it liquid two ways. You could do it either by cooling it or pressurizing it.
So maybe it is.
But I don't.
My thought initially then would be that it is in a pressurized vessel.
Maybe it's in a 331, like a bobtail or something like that.
Yeah.
I know this. I know probably Todd Burton's going to correct us later if he's listening, but because I know it exists in a liquid form. But
So looking up in Jeff Z's Hazmat Response Field Guide on page 45, talks about for the 307, 407 products, xylene, toluene, mild corrosives. So maybe 407.
I don't know. I think it's going to be off-gassing way too much.
Yeah, the 407 doesn't go to that kind of pressure.
yeah, and that's
That's
the weight.
407 is basically, what is it, like 5 to 15 pounds? I don't think
25 to
it's-
35.
Okay.
No pressure. Yeah. Yeah, you're right. Might be up one.
You know, if it's over that, it's probably going to have to go to the 331, because I don't think anything else has a head pressure for that.
Jeff C, we're talking about vinyl chloride.
Very interesting. This is a...
It's a good way to learn
It's
it.
a challenge.
We do this at the station. You can't know everything, and if you just Google it, you're not challenging your brain right off the bat. But for those
that's why I like not having the books.
yeah,
I'm trying to intentionally not have the books because I want to try to think it in my mind. It's pressurized. You've seen it on the rail. So it's going to be in 331. Great. So let's, how would we verify that? Because, even when you get it from Jeff Z, who's notoriously right on the money,
yeah,
you want to
For sure.
verify the CFR, right? The CFR, you could probably look it up in
49? 29?
what, CFR 49?
Yeah, what is I think it's 49.
What, CFR 49?
Yeah.
Chris has got to have it. I mean, it's going by rail.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. It was the Chris.
Yeah.
Or even isn't there an intermodal book? Who the hell makes it?
I know we have one, and it's a great drill. Turn off the internet connection and pull out the books.
Yeah.
For when
Yeah,
there's
we-
work. Or call
Exactly.
Jeff C, which is going to be my first stop, but if he's not available, it'll be like saving lives.
Speed dial 3.
Hey, he's right in there.
Rocking it out somewhere.
And Jeff
I'm
C
in the
should
meter
be-
room. I think I have any.
No, why would you have anything in there?
No.
So that's a good question. So we have hit a stumbling block for everybody. And I think maybe even the audience here.
Well, I mean, underwater gas all right. So underwater 23 says gas at ordinary temperatures and pressure, liquid under pressure in cylinders.
It's got to be a 331.
It's got to be a 331. It's got to be a pressurized cylinder. So, we are. This is going to be good to revisit this, and we'll let's start a little conversation online, and let's kick this one around because vinyl chloride.
The guys that are sitting in the forums, what's going to be your guess?
Yeah, you, right there. Me? Oh, that forums, right?
He's pointing to his forums. Yeah. My forums are over here.
Oh,
mine are here.
Way to the beach.
Yeah, what do you guys think? Talk it up.
And we brought it up with when you guys dropped off with the acids. I mean, you talk about a nitric acid, and I was referring to the podcast. It all depends on what percentage. I mean, it's overall, it could be a nasty inorganic, but it's a big deal. And another, walking into your research lab, red cap or green cap, that just popped in my head. I remember that with the nitrics when we deal with that. Makes, I think, one signifies 30, one signifies 70%. Check my math on that, but pay attention next time you're walking through the chem lab.
So Ray,
now, what are you talking about? You're saying red cap, green cap on the bottle itself?
On the bottle itself, nitric's going to be a clear bottle, not the brown. It's more of a Corona than a Pacifico, if you put it in those terms. But we were talking about just paying attention when you go through the lab, because I picked up a lot of bottles, and there's certain things that the muscle memory, it gets to the brain. But I remember there's a difference in caps, and I believe it was with the nitric. It might have been with the sulfuric. Somebody can check my math. But next time you're at a chem lab, look around, see what they look like.
So just a little side note here. Some other stuff I just found was cylinders are supposed to fire. Obviously, may vent, release flammable gas. I think we already explained that. Containers may explode. It may explode when heated. So we talked about that earlier. And cylinders may rocket a great distance.
That's nice. You have a thing in front of you on the cylinders. It has a relief valve?
It does through pressure relief devices. Yep.
Wow. Cylinders, if I would have taken a guess, I would have said that it would have been considered a poison and not had a pressure relief device.
Cylinders exposed to fire may vent and release flammable gas through pressure relief devices.
Wow.
I'm kind of surprised at that too, because of the TWA and the low PPMs usually mean that they'd rather it explode than to release.
So that brings up that brings up another factor. Are we dealing with a toxic flammable or a flammable toxic? What's the PPE going to be for it?
If you're sporting a 1, well, what's the hazard? Skin? Do we have a big skin hazard, or really just inhalation?
Well, inhalation, what I found, somebody checked me on this too, was over 10 parts per million. You should be on supplied air.
Okay.
So the flammable range is like what, 3 to 30, 33?
Well, then definitely toxic with flammable. But if it's going to be skin contact hazard, like if we're worried about it contacting our skin at those kind of levels, then level A. If we're not so worried about the skin contact, if it's more an inhalation, then we can drop down to a B.
Mike, you know what? Just explain how you just determined it was more of a health than a fire.
Okay, so here's the basic idea. Let's say the flammable limit is is the lower explosive limit. That means that I'm going to need, what is that, 30,000 parts per million in the air before it becomes a hazard for fire. If Bob is telling me that I've got 10 parts per million, it becomes toxic. 10 is a boatload lower than 30,000. So my initial thought is going toxic first. And then I turn around and I look at how it's going to be toxic to me. So I may decide to wear bunker gear with an SCBA if this has no skin contact issues whatsoever. I may turn around and say, okay, well, 3 is still pretty low. I may want to go in my bunker gear. If I have a little bit of skin hazard, I may want to consider a chemical suit. And if it has a major skin hazard, then I want to consider, a level A. probably a level A right off the bat because it is gas. It's not like this is a vapor. So with it being a gas with low toxicity and higher flammability, I'm going to probably end up with the level A. Does that make sense?
Yep, absolutely,
Yeah,
right on.
That was the flow I was trying to talk about, because I've talked to people like, well, if you got both, can I wear my bunker gear in the level A? And I'm like, let's not get crazy, but
Yeah, it's not get crazy.
that's the thought process behind these things. Like, acetylene, we've had these things where, or even ammonia. We've talked about this to a fairly well, but ammonia is the exact same thing, where it's a flammable toxic, and based upon those numbers, if you break it down, it kind of tells you where your first focus should be. Right. In the ERG, when you open that thing up and you get the orange pages, and it says fire or toxic is first. Well, that's why they're basically doing that math that Mike just explained to you first.
And the other thing too is, simultaneously while you're taking care of a leak, somebody could be controlling ignition sources. So taking that whole component right out of the game.
Right. Or you may not even have a flammable range anywhere except where it's leaking. We had that ammonia run, we talk about it, and it was pissing out ammonia vapors, and at the leak they only had 4% of the LEL.
Yeah.
But
that's
ammonia has
you're going to have an I looked it up because it was pre Hazmat Nation, but that I'll post it later for training purposes, maybe when we put this one up. But that Paulsboro Township, and I talked quite a bit to the chief that's there. I don't think he's ever done a class say on this, but it was like I said, it was right in the middle of Hurricane Sandy, so it made zero news, and they had the derailment going right over the bridge, so Paulsboro, New Jersey, and that did sicken about 24 people, and it was due to the vinyl chloride. And it was 6 to 8 cars, but then the entire incident involved rail cars with vinyl chloride, underwater evacuations, just a real solid mess, and right in the middle of another major disaster. So in that case, then you're jumping into looking at where you're going to evacuate, plot and plume. And I see rail cars here of a couple different varieties in the picture. So,
well, it's Jersey, so it probably cleaned it up pretty well.
Yeah, be nice.
That's good.
That's awesome. So anyway, this was just something that was on the Hazmat Nation website, a couple different runs, and I thought, to me, the vinyl chloride is in the same lines of a serious discussion with styrene, because people are like, well, how are we going to deal with that? Is it flammable? Is it toxic? Which way are we going? Are we going to go with it? And so I think that worked out pretty good.
It's a good one, and take it as a drill on a tech ref perspective. Try it without Google, and then go through what you would wear for PPE, how you would respond, and get the equipment out and do it. I mean, we've got 4 squares here that are all sitting in the seat on various teams, and we all have a different amount of, say, resources. And then we spent some time with the Viper team out of Indiana that comes with a whole nother set of resources and backgrounds and things like that. So talk about it, take it back to the station, ask around. We're scratching our heads, so you should too.
Speaking of resources, God.
No, sorry. I just want to when you go into these types of any incident, I'm going to say any incident. Be very cautious whenever you come into a cylinder. We drill on this an awful lot, where we'll just go to a cylinder, and based upon the size, the shape, especially the valve, read the valve. It'll say CGA something, or it'll say what is the old one? The IAC?
I don't remember what the old one
ICA. There's an older one that was like from the it was from anything before like the 50s. It would have this type marking on it. We found cylinders that were in a construction zone that were almost 100 years old, and when we looked at them, they looked like propane tanks. But in all reality, No, I'm sorry. They look like acetylene tanks, but in all reality, they were propane tanks.
Wow.
So this stuff together. I mean, when you go to these things, don't assume that, oh, well, it's this shape and size. It's going to be this. We've come across things. This vinyl chloride was a propellant. Was a what the hell else was it? It was I was reading this before. It also was a refrigerant. It was used in wall coverings. It's a whole bunch of stuff, and this is relatively recently, only up to like 74. That it was in this, and Bob Stern was on the side, and he said that you can find it as a byproduct during overhaul and firefighting. Yeah, it actually gives off phosgene and all that stuff when it's actually combusting in rollover. So this stuff is pretty much everywhere. Don't assume what I'm saying is by sizing up. Don't assume that that cylinder looks like it's a mini acetylene tank. It could be 140 years old, and have something completely different.
And just to kind of touch on that a little bit, what you said as far as the one of the byproducts during overhaul, there's a lot of departments out there that do air monitoring after a fire. And what are they air monitoring for? I hear the cyanide or the CO or whatever. Well, there's a real good example of something that they're not monitoring for. And it just kind of reinforces the whole thing. Like the Firefighter Cancer Support Network mentions, wear your air pack all the time. This air monitoring to get into a safe level. There, as far as I'm concerned, you're not in a safe level till you're back at the house.
Yeah. Believe me, you don't want to lose a body.
Yeah, especially down there.
I just wanted to touch on resource. We talk about the resource drill. And in the, 11 years I've been doing this, the other day was the first time I ever reached out to Chemtrek. And it was kind of one of those things that I never wanted to do. And I did it anyway, just kind of almost for shits and giggles. And I got to tell you, I would not hesitate to call them again, because I have called manufacturers myself looking to talk to somebody, and it's taken me 15, 20 minutes. You talk to an operator, you talk to this operator, you talk to this operator. I have the phone call recorded, and it is about 3.5 minutes before I have the head chemical engineer for the product that we were dealing with. And she conferenced him in, and I was able to talk to him, and he confirmed everything that we felt, and it was, I would do it again in a heartbeut. So
could you put that on, or maybe we should do a show just on reference, but could you post that to guys who've never called?
Yeah, we're actually going to have it on the podcast. So once it goes out into the podcast, we just got to name.
Because I'll be honest with you, 26 years in the fire service, I have never, ever called Chemtrek, not even in a training scenario.
Right. Well, we had a polymerization reaction, and we felt like we were on the right lines with the direction that we were headed, but I just felt like it was better safe than sorry.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
Absolutely.
Ran through everything that was going, what we thought, and he confirmed everything that we were thinking was right on the money, and we just kept on trucking.
Nice.
Of course, we're going to get flooded with calls now, but we do it in drill, or we have, and it's great. And then when I got a tour of Dow Chemical, I got to see their call-in center, which was like a large city's dispatch center that handled everything off their MSDSs. And I remember back in the day, we used to, when I worked in the non-fire hazmat side, we had to it wasn't just Chemtrek. I gotta remember it. I'll share it. But we had to call them to test, see how quickly we actually would call them to test them, to vet them, to make sure they're doing it right. Test them. I'm losing the word. But yeah, include it in your drill, and even your local reporting. The state of California, we have one number we can call that kind of gets to everybody. So we call them a lot on a regular basis. But if those are numbers that are in your call down, dial them. You might find out the number's been changed, but dial them, tell them this is a drill. This isn't an emergency. We just want to talk. And I've never had it with any of those where they've said, hey, you're wasting our time.
And Jay-Z brings up a good point too, that we have not mentioned at all. It is a carcinogenic as well.
Yeah. Huge. It's just about everything says it.
Yeah.
my beverage is not.
Yet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In California, it is.
Oh yeah, oh
Yeah,
yeah.
take that shit.
That's
Yeah,
Prop
take that
65
shit over
right
to
there.
Philadelphia.
Speaking of
Be a
California,
carcinogen.
this is like only hazmat humor. But I saw a funny when I was shopping today, and I don't even know what they are. I guess it's for it's for cooking for college kids that can shop at Bristol Farms. But that's the name.
Oh my
One
God.
pot? Get out of here.
That's great.
That's the name of the brand for whatever it is. I think it's some sort of probably stroganoff stew or some sort of survival pack, but it's called One Pot. No, that's funny. Only to me, but funny.
I've never heard that term one pot before.
Yeah.
Don't sue
Yeah. Yeah, if that was if they were selling that at Rite Aid, it'd be flying off the shelves.
Yeah, no doubt.
All right, let's
Awesome.
go around the horn and finish this thing up.
All right.
Mike, since you didn't get
sir.
to open up with us, where are we going to find you? What do you know? Who do you know?
know much, but I fake it real good. And I'm going to be in Baltimore coming in June. I believe I heard you over speaking that while I was slamming my computer up against the wall trying to get it to work. I'm going to also be. Are we going to be in Nashville possibly?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah.
I will absolutely be in Nashville.
Yeah, it's happening.
Okay. And you can find myself and Bob regularly on the Hazmat Guys podcast, which is hazmatguys.com, or go to iTunes, search in the Hazmat Guys.
Bob?
I don't know. Am I supposed to be somewhere else?
Awesome. Nah, well,
No.
not.
Okay.
Yeah, I just want to again thank everybody for showing up at FDIC and meeting us. It was a great time. Great seeing all of us in one shot since we're from all over the country. And yeah, we're all going to be at the Hazmat conference in Baltimore. We'll be doing various things. The two New Yorkers over there are going to be doing some teaching. Phil and I will have a booth for HazSim, so come check us out, and we'd love to meet you guys and say hi and share some stories. And I think all four of us will be at Firehouse Nashville.
And Jeff C.
Jeff Z as well.
Ooh.
Yes, absolutely. Jeff Z with special guest star, rocking and
In
rolling.
the house.
Jay-Z in the house. So we're going to have, that's going to be good. That's going to be a good time.
Yeah.
It's going to be a good time. So you can find me hcmtlt at gmail.com or on Twitter, Hazmat Nation or HazSim.
Awesome.
Philly, hit it up, baby.
I'm Phil Ambrose, and we've thanked everybody, but it's not to thank them a bunch. But Baltimore, yeah, booth, and we are going to figure it out, but we're hoping to get everybody together like we did in Indiana, and then even more so, because there'll be a lot of fellow hazmat geeks out there, and we're planning it. It's we don't have a time or a place yet, but plan on getting yourself to Baltimore, and then Firehouse Expo in Nashville. We'll be teaching what's going to end up being a really good, really well supported hands-on class, and everybody you see here will be there, including Jeff C. And we'll have more. That's not until October, so we'll have more and more info.
Yeah,
but
middle of October.
And then thanks for happy to be here. And we had another HazSim system go out to another agency in this great Commonwealth of Massachusetts. So we're happy about that today. So and I see Bob Lundgren out there. So yeah, good stuff.
And I don't know if you mentioned it beforehand, Phil, before I got on, got rid of my gremlins here. But big shout out to Greg Knoll. He sent an email listening and appreciate what we're doing. So thanks for listening. Those of you who don't know Greg Knoll, he is one of the main guys in the hazmat community. Look him up, look at his stuff, and you'll learn a lot. Believe me.
Yeah, I mentioned that, and go check your library. You've got a book with his name on it. You might have a book with Bob's name on it too. And so and
Oh,
yes,
you're writing books?
Your package is in the mail. If it doesn't show up, it's at O'Neill's bar. Okay.
Oh, that's coming. Excellent.
That's where it went last time.
All right, I'll just wrap my part up. My name is Bobby Salveson, and I am one of the two, like Mike said before, the Hazmat Guys podcast, where you can find us on iTunes, Stitcher, and I think Google Music, as we just got up on that one. So that's a pretty good one. I will be, along with these other knuckleheads, somewhere soon, having some beer or more like scotch. I'll probably be having scotch. That's
It'll work out for you.
Yeah. That'll work out for you.
It's good. You can reach me at bob@thehazmatguys.com. And I think that's about it. So that wraps up another episode of Hazmat Guys Nation Roundtable. Please be sure to follow us on Facebook at our combined pages. We have the Hazmat. Well, you have Hazmat Nation, the Hazmat Guys, and the Hazmat Guys Nation. You got all of them, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Nice. And that's it. Please be sure to watch next week's show live every Tuesday, 9:15 Eastern Standard Time on Blab.im. And we'll also be producing a podcast version of this so that you can watch us or listen to us more if that's your cup of tea. And you can find that. We also actually take this video and put it on our YouTube channel, which you can find under the Hazmat Guys Nation Roundtable. Now, if you want to stick around, we usually just shut off the recorder and keep this fun fest going. So I think we'll say goodbye.
One more thing real quick.
Yes.
We're going to have an empty seat next week. Anybody that wants to come on to the show, you need to get a hold of me or Bob, and we will vet you for your audio, and then we will allow you to come on to the show. So please do that because we love hearing from you guys, but without the right audio setup, it makes the show inaudible.
Yes, I will be in the Keys someplace, somewhere, hopefully not drowning. Well, I'd probably drowning in alcohol. And if I was already told if I break away and try and get on, I will get divorced. So my seat will be open. My seat will be open next week.
Yeah, we're already known for causing conception, but we don't need that.
That's a true story.
All right. Goodbye, everybody.